All right, let's dive straight into chapter 16 of the book of John.
Okay.
There's just so much packed in here. We're aiming to really pull out the core insights, the wisdom Jesus shares right at this critical moment.
Yeah, it's intense. You've got these crucial warnings, some really surprising promises too, and these foundational truths about, Jesus the Father and this figure he calls the counselor.
Absolutely. It feels like preparation for some very challenging times ahead.
It really does. He's laying out the difficulties, but also, importantly, the resources they'll have. It moves fast from that stark reality to, well, deep spiritual reassurance.
And he starts immediately, doesn't he? With some really direct warnings. What's he bracing them for right at the beginning?
Well, he tells them plainly, I've told you this so that you won't go astray or, fall away when things get tough.
Okay.
And the warnings are specific. First, being put out of the synagogue.
Which was huge back then, right? Total isolation.
Massive. Socially, religiously, cut off completely. But then it gets even more severe.
Yep.
He says, a time is coming when anyone who kills you will think they are offering a service to God.
Wow. So violence justified by a twisted sense of religious duty.
Exactly. Not just persecution, but persecution seen as piety by the people doing it. It's chilling.
And he gives a reason why this would happen. It's not just random hatred.
No, and the reason cuts deep. He says, those doing this have not known the Father or me.
Uh-huh.
So the root cause is spiritual ignorance, a fundamental lack of relationship with God and with Jesus. That's a powerful insight into that kind of opposition.
And he makes a point of saying why he's telling them these hard truths now.
Mm.
There's a timing element.
Yes, definitely. He says, I have told you this so that when the time comes, you will remember that I warned you.
So the memory itself is meant to be a source of strength to prevent shock.
Precisely. So they aren't blindsided and stumble in their faith, and he contrasts it, saying he didn't tell them these specifics before because I was with you.
So his physical presence offered a different kind of support.
Right, a different dynamic. But now, preparing for his departure, he equips them with foresight.
Which leads directly into that next major theme, him announcing he's actually leaving.
Yeah, right after the warnings, he says, now I am going to him who sent me.
And how do they take that?
The text says they're just filled with grief. I mean, it's a totally understandable human reaction. Their leader, their friend, is leaving.
But then comes this paradox, maybe one of the most crucial parts of the chapter. He tells them, despite their grief, that his leaving is for your good.
It sounds completely counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It really does. How can him leaving possibly be good for them?
Well, he connects it directly to the arrival of the counselor, the Spirit of Truth. He states it as a condition. Unless I go away, the counselor will not come to you.
Oh, okay.
But if I go, I will send him to you. So his physical departure makes possible this new, different kind of divine presence, one that can be with all of them everywhere.
Okay, so the counselor comes because Jesus leaves. And what's the counselor's job specifically in relation to the world?
The primary role described here is to convict the world of guilt.
Convict. Like a prosecutor.
Kind of, but maybe more like exposing or proving the truth about three key areas: sin and righteousness and judgment. It's about revealing fundamental spiritual realities the world might be blind to.
And he breaks down each of those, right? What does conviction about sin mean here?
He defines it very specifically. Conviction regarding sin comes because men do not believe in me.
So unbelief in Jesus is presented as the core issue.
Exactly. That's the root sin the Spirit exposes.
Hmm.
Then regarding righteousness, the conviction comes because I am going to the Father where you can see me no longer.
How does that show righteousness?
Well, Jesus' ascension to the Father validates his claims, his perfect life. It demonstrates that true righteousness isn't just earthly perfection, but acceptance and position with God, even when he's unseen.
Okay, got it. And the third one, judgment.
Conviction about judgment comes because the prince of this world now stands condemned.
The prince of this world, Satan.
Yes. The Spirit reveals that the ultimate authority opposing God has already been judged and defeated through Jesus' work, even if the effects aren't fully visible yet.
So the Spirit basically pulls back the curtain on the world's true state. Its core problem is unbelief, God's standard is Jesus' validated righteousness, and the enemy's power is broken.
That's a great way to put it, a spiritual x-ray.
And Jesus mentions he actually has more to tell them, but they can't handle it yet.
Yeah, he acknowledges their limits. I have much more to say to you, more than you can now bear. They're likely overwhelmed, grieving. just not ready for deeper theological truths at that exact moment.
Which highlights again why the Spirit's ongoing work is so essential after he leaves. What else will the Spirit do?
Well, the big promise is he will guide you into all truth. It's not instantaneous, but a continuous guidance.
And how does the Spirit communicate this truth? Does it come from the Spirit himself?
Interestingly, no. Jesus says the Spirit will not speak on his own. He will speak only what he hears.
So he's relaying messages. From who?
From the Father and the Son. It highlights the unity within the Godhead. The Spirit's message originates from the Father and Jesus. And Jesus adds, the Spirit will tell you what is yet to come. So there's a future-oriented aspect too.
Guidance, truth, future insight, and bringing glory to Jesus seems central too. How does that work?
Jesus explains it. The Spirit will bring glory to me by taking from what is mine and making it known to you.
So the Spirit's ministry points back to Jesus.
Precisely. The focus isn't self-promotion for the Spirit, but revealing the fullness of who Jesus is and what he accomplished.
And this is tied into the Father as well.
Yes, Jesus underlines this unity by saying, all that belongs to the Father is mine. Therefore, when the Spirit takes from what is Jesus's to reveal, he's actually revealing what belongs to both the Father and the Son. It's all interconnected.
Okay, now there's this part where Jesus says something that just completely confuses the disciples. They start whispering among themselves.
Right, that bit about, in a little while you will see me no more, and then after a little while you will see me. And he adds the bit about going to the Father.
Yeah.
And the text is great here. It shows them asking each other, what does he mean? We don't understand. Total confusion.
And Jesus knows they're confused even before they ask him directly.
He does. He kind of calls them out on it gently, asking, are you asking one another what I meant? He knows exactly what they're wrestling with.
And he uses this really powerful analogy to try and explain this idea of temporary loss, followed by seeing him again.
The analogy of a woman giving birth. It's incredibly vivid. He talks about her anguish, the real pain because her time has come. But then the pivot. When her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because of her joy that a child is born into the world.
So the joy completely overshadows the temporary pain.
It transforms the memory of it. The pain was real, unavoidable. But the resulting joy is so profound and permanent, it makes the pain seem insignificant in comparison.
That's powerful. How does he apply that to them?
Directly. He says, so with you, now is your time of grief, validating their current feelings about his departure. But then, the promise, I will see you again and you will rejoice and no one will take away your joy.
So the little while of not seeing him is the temporary anguish, the labor. Seeing him again brings this permanent, untouchable joy.
Exactly. A joy that circumstances can't steal.
And he mentions something else shifts in that day, the time of this new joy. He says, you will no longer ask me anything. That sounds a bit odd, like they stopped talking to him.
Yeah, it could sound that way, but it's likely about a change in the way they relate. Maybe less about needing constant clarification because the Spirit is guiding them into truth, giving them a deeper, more mature understanding.
Okay, so not silence, but a different kind of communication.
Possibly. And right after saying that, he introduces this revolutionary concept about prayer.
Totally new access point.
Totally. He says, my Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. Direct access to the Father, based on Jesus's authority, his name.
And he points out this is new for them.
He does. Until now, you have not asked for anything in my name. Then the clear instruction. Ask and you will receive, and your joy will be complete. This new prayer access is tied directly to their fullness of joy.
Okay, moving towards the end of the chapter, Jesus reflects on how he's been speaking to them.
Right. He acknowledges he's used figures of speech or figurative language, analogies like the childbirth one. But he says a time is coming when he'll speak plainly about my Father, more directly.
And he links this plain, speaking back to the prayer promise again, asking in my name. But he adds a clarification about his own role then.
Yeah, this is subtle but important. He says in that day when they ask in his name, I am not saying that I will ask the Father on your behalf.
Wait, so he's not interceding for them. How does that work?
It's not that he ceases to be the mediator, but that their access won't require him to constantly, vouch for them moment by moment. The reason is profound.
Which is?
The Father himself loves you, Jesus says, and the reason for the Father's love. Because you have loved me and have believed that I came from God.
Wow. So their love for Jesus and belief in his origin gives them this direct, loving relationship with the Father.
That's the basis for this incredible prayer access he's describing. The Father's own love for them, rooted in their faith in Jesus.
And then he fulfills that promise of plain speaking, right? He just lays out his whole mission very simply.
He does, just states it. I came from the Father and entered the world. Now I am leaving the world and going back to the Father. Clear as day. Origin, mission, destination.
And the disciples, they get it. This plain talk clicks for them.
It's a breakthrough moment. They respond, now you are speaking clearly. Now we can see that you know all things. This makes us believe that you came from God. The clarity confirms their faith.
But Jesus' response to their declaration, it's a little challenging, isn't it?
It is. He says, you believe at last. Like, finally you get it. Acknowledgement, but maybe with a hint of, it took long enough.
And right after that moment of belief, he hits them with one last, really tough warning about what's immediately ahead for them.
Yeah, talk about a reality check. He predicts, but a time is coming and has come when you will be scattered, each to his own home. They're going to abandon him.
Leaving him totally alone in his hour of need.
He says, you will leave me all alone. That sounds incredibly isolating.
But he doesn't stop there. He immediately follows that with a statement of profound truth about his own situation.
He counters the aloneness instantly. Yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. Even when every human support fails, that divine companionship is absolute and unbroken.
So, bringing this whole intense conversation to a close, all the warnings, the promises about the Spirit, the grief and joy, the prayer access, the plain speaking, why did he tell them all this? What's the ultimate point?
He states it clearly. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace.
Peace in him specifically, not necessarily peace in their circumstances.
Exactly, because he immediately follows up by acknowledging the harsh reality. In this world, you will have trouble. He doesn't sugarcoat it. Trouble is guaranteed.
But that's not the final word. He ends chapter 16 on this incredibly powerful, triumphant note.
The ultimate encouragement. But take heart, I have overcome the world. It's a declaration of victory already achieved. The battle against the world's system, sin, death, he's already won.
What a journey in just one chapter, from warnings of intense persecution, the coming of this vital counselor, the pain of grief turning into joy that no one can take away, this new direct line to the Father in prayer, and finally, the reality of trouble, but the possibility of peace, because he's already overcome it all.
Yeah, the key insights really are profound. The spiritual blindness behind persecution, the absolute necessity of Jesus leaving for the Spirit to come, the Spirit's specific work revealing truth to the world. That childbirth analogy is just so powerful for grief and joy. The direct access to a loving Father because of faith in Jesus, and grounding it all in that final declaration, I have overcome the world. That changes everything.
It really does. It leaves you thinking. If trouble in this world is a given, as Jesus says it is, but real peace is possible in the one who has already overcome that world, well, how does knowing that reshape how you approach the difficulties you inevitably face? Something profound to consider.